Okay, in this video, I'm going to go through some of my first impressions of the 1985 Strat-O-Matic cards, which have just come out. All in all, I have a total of, I think it's about 14 or 15 guys that I want to take a look at, specifically looking at some of the award winners from the 1985 season. First, let's get started with the National League Rookie of the Year, Vince Coleman. You see his card right there. Now, Coleman only had a 320 on base percentage in 1985. He is a triple A stealing, and his defense is pretty good in left field, even though he is a +2 arm. Just for a leadoff guy, those aren't great on base chances on the card. And as we take a look at the National League Rookie of the Year voting, you could see it was a unanimous choice. Vince Coleman got all 24 first place votes. So, Vince Coleman, there's your 1985 NL Rookie of the Year. The 85 AL Rookie of the Year was Ozzie Guillen. Now, this defense is just absolutely outstanding. I will take a 2 and an E14 at shortstop any day. Guillen hit 273 with only one home run on the year, on base percentage of less than 300. So, not much of a hitter's card, especially when he faces left handed pitching. But one good thing that I do like about Ozzie Guillen's card is you do get pretty good bang for your buck with him facing right-handed pitching. You could see, he's got one, two, three, four, five, six. He has 6 hits with multiple base advancement on his card against right-handed pitching. So that's pretty good bang for your buck out of Ozzie Guillen. Now, another rookie that I want to take a look at here is Milwaukee Brewers' Teddy Higuera, who went 15-8 with a 3.90 ERA in 1985. You see his card right there. That's a legit starter's card in Strat-O-Matic. I really like this card. 8 inning point of weakness, which also helps. He does have some power on his card. If you look at the 4-9 against right-handed batters, and against left-handed batters, it's only a home run 1-6 out rest of the way. He has a couple ballpark effect home runs tucked away on 412, and he's got one on 5-2 against right-handed hitters. So, I'm not going to go too crazy about that. But Teddy Higuera had really a terrific year for the Milwaukee Brewers in 1985. And as we take a look at the voting for the 1985 AL Rookie of the Year, I don't know. I personally would have cast a vote for Ted Higuera in 1985. I think doing what he did that season, going 15-8 like he did. If I had a vote, I probably would have gone with Ted Higuera, but you can see Ozzie Guillen won that vote pretty easily. Now let's go through the Cy Young Award winners. The Cy Young Award winners in 1985 were Brett Saberhagen and Dwight Gooden. But first, I'm going to show you the runner-ups in each league. In the American League, the runner-up was Ron Guidry, and you see his card. Just an absolutely outstanding year out of Ron Guidry in 1985. He went 22-6 with a 3.27 ERA. 8 inning point of weakness definitely helps. It's a very stingy card, not a lot of on base chances. Um, Only issue is when he faces left-handed batters, you have some power opportunities on his card. He has home runs on both nines against left-handed batters in both the 4 column and the 6 column, and he has another ballpark effect home run on 611. But really, an outstanding card for Ron Guidry for 1985. Now let's look at the NL Cy Young runner-up, John Tudor. In my opinion, this was one of the best years a pitcher had without winning a Cy Young award, especially in that decade of the 1980s. Just an absolutely great year out of Tudor. He went 21-8 with a 1.93 ERA, absolutely unhittable down the stretch in 1985, and This is a legit ace card. Just imagine you have your lineup stacked with right-handed hitters facing John Tudor, and you roll a 6-5, which basically should be a damage roll, and it only comes up a home run 1 to 3 out, rested away. So just a great card for John Tudor. Now, with as great of a year as he had, not surprising, he did not get one uh, Cy Young vote. Dwight Gooden won it unanimously. Obviously, so Dwight Gooden goes 24-4 with a 1.53 ERA, and you see his card right there. This is an absolutely great card for Dwight Gooden. What I really like about this card is he does a nice job of keeping the ball in the ballpark, especially against left-handed hitters. And let's see, he has a home run 1 to 6 out, rested away on 4-5, and he has a couple ballpark effect home runs in the sixth column, but at least those are tucked away on 6-2 and 6-12. So not exactly what you could call common roles. And again, let's just take a quick look at the NL Cy Young voting. Dwight Gooden gets all 24 first place votes. Oral Hershiser is another guy who had a great year in 1985 as he goes 19-3 with an ERA of just over 2. I actually should have pulled his card out too and taken a look at that. Now let's take a look at the American League Cy Young. That was Brett Saberhagen. He goes 20-6 with an ERA of 2.87. This is a really nice card. It's a legit ace card in Strat-O-Matic. There are some hits on the card. You can see he has hits on the sixes against left-handed batters in the 5 column and the 6 column. The same thing when he faces right-handed hitters. But all in all, it's a very stingy card. He does a pretty good job of keeping the ball in the ballpark. Um, he has no home runs on his card whatsoever when he faces right-handed batters. And against lefties, you do have some home run chances when you face him. You got ballpark effect home runs on 4-2, 5-3, and you have a home run 1 to 9 on 5-5. We look at the American League Cy Young voting that year. That I think is a very fair vote. I think Brett Saberhagen was the um, obvious choice for the 1985 Cy Young Award. Um, Guidry did have a great year in 1985, but not nearly as good as Brett Saberhagen. So there are your Cy Young Award winners for 1985: Dwight Gooden and Brett Saberhagen. Now let's take a look at the National League MVP. That was St. Louis Cardinals center fielder Willie McGee. You see his card right there. I absolutely love this card. Um, First of all, he's a one in both center field and left field if you ever have a need to move him over. But you can see this is a very balanced card where he does really nice damage against both lefties and righties, and you get very good bang for your buck. You can see all the hits with multiple base advancement on his card. Willie McGee that year hit 353, and I know he hit over 360 with runners in scoring position. So that's why you see so many single two asterisks on his card. This is a very deserving card for Willie McGee and his 1985 season. Another guy who I want to take a look at is Dave Parker finished second in the NL MVP voting that year. Just a great year out of Dave Parker. He hit 312 with 34 homers, 125 ribbies. This is a great card out of Dave Parker, and it's one of his better defensive cards too. He's a 2 and only an E10. There are some Dave Parker cards in the 70s where his E rating got up to like 14 or 15 or something like that. But this is a legit card. This is a perfect number 3 hitter in your lineup. Obviously, Parker was a little later in his career at this point in 1985, so he's only a D stealing, but he still has decent speed on the base pass. As he is 1 to 14 running the bases. Dave Parker, that's his card. Another guy who I want to take a look at here, let's take a look at Gary Carter's card. Now, Carter did 32 homers and 100 RBIs with a 281 batting average. Now, Gary Carter is a guy who I think got gypped a little bit in the MVP voting in 1985. First, let's take a look at his card. Um, you can see this is a legit number 3 or 4 hitter in your lineup. He's an outstanding run producer, and he gives you elite defense behind the plate. He's a 1 and a -3 arm. That is just absolutely outstanding. And if you want to, you have some position flex. He's got first base and right field on his card, but that's what you get out of Gary Carter. But let's take a look at the MVP voting for 1985. Let me bring that up right now. You could see that Willie McGee won it fairly easily with Dave Parker finishing second. Um, Guerrero was third. Gooden was fourth. The guy who I think got really gypped in this voting was Gary Carter. Now, personally, if I had a vote, what I would have done, and I kind of hate saying this because Dave Parker was always one of my favorite players from that era. If I had a vote, what I would have done was I probably would have gone McGee 1, Carter 2, Gooden 3. That's probably the way I would have voted. But you could see the way the vote turned out. It goes Parker 2 and Pedro Guerrero number 3. Now, Parker and Guerrero both had outstanding years, don't get me wrong. But Gary Carter was really the offensive staple for the 1985 New York Mets. Definitely an MVP caliber year out of Gary Carter. But again, Willie McGee is your 1985 NL MVP. Let's take a look at the American League. First, I'm going to show you the MVP runner-up. That was Kansas City Royals third baseman George Brett. You can see just another great card out of George Brett. He hit 30 homers, 112 ribbies, 335 average, 585 slugging, and this is just another one of those typical George Brett Strat-O-Matic cards where you have um, plenty of hits with multiple base advancement, along with very nice on base chances on his card. George Brett was never a guy who really walked a ton, but you would always get a decent number of singles on his card. But there's still plenty of power on George Brett's 1985 card. So great card out of George Brett for 1985. Let's take a look at Ricky Henderson. He finished third in the MVP voting. This is a great card for Ricky Henderson. And well deserved. He hit 314 that year, 24 homers, 72 ribbies. Slugging percentage was over 500. On base percentage was just under 420. Double A stealing, plenty of chances to get on base with this card, and plenty of pop on his card as well. Especially when you see his column against left-handed pitching. You go home run 1 to 11, triple 1 to 4, double 1 to 4. I mean, this is just a legit strat card out of Ricky Henderson. Just a great year for Ricky out of 1985. And I always felt like Ricky Henderson's 1985 season was one of the best seasons I ever saw a player have and not win the MVP. Ricky Henderson was that good in 1985. Now, the 85 AL MVP that year, of course, was Don Mattingly. We take a look at his card. Um, I'm going to have a lot to say about Don Mattingly's card when I do my Yankee team analysis for 1985. But in short, I'm not particularly crazy about this card. Um, Mattingly that year, 35, 145 with a 324 average. His on base percentage was 371, slugging 567. Um, in short, I just don't think his card has enough hits with multiple base advancement for a guy who drove in 145 runs. I'll go into more detail when I do my team analysis video. Like I said, on the 1985 New York Yankees, but I could tell you at first glance, when I was first ripping apart the cards, everyone knows when Strat-O-Matic cards come in, they're all on these big sheets perforated, and you start tearing them apart. Ricky Henderson, or excuse me, Don Mattingly. First glance, I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, the card's okay. And then as I really sat down and took a look at it, I took issue with some of the things that I see on this card. Um, but again, I'll go into detail on that when I do my next video. Let's take a look at the voting, the way it turned out for 1985. Um, Pretty much a fair vote. I mean, Mattingly won that vote fairly easily. Ricky Henderson, surprisingly, Ricky Henderson didn't get one first place vote in 1985. It's just one of those things where you had a great year out of Mattingly, a great year out of Brett, and a great year out of Ricky Henderson. And I just can't see anyone who voted for Mattingly being first would then vote for another Yankee being second. So, um, but again, Ricky Henderson had a great year in 1985. And I don't know, me personally, if I had a vote in 1985, I might have voted for Ricky Henderson because he was really the spark plug on that 1985 Yankees team, and it was because of the year Ricky Henderson had in 1985, which is why the Yankees were so competitive that year. But that's just my opinion. But again, Don Mattingly, 1985 American League MVP. Uh, Very well deserved. So that's what I have for you for today. That's my first look at some of the 1985 Strat cards. I'm very happy that the 1985 Strat cards are finally here. 1985 was a great year for Major League Baseball, and in my opinion, it was the best season for Major League Baseball in the decade of the 1980s. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Yankees and the Mets in this video because I want to save that for my next video. But the Yankees and Mets battling it out in both Eastern divisions played a big role in why 1985 was such a great season. You had three of the four divisions go down to the final weekend of the regular season. Um, the Blue Jays beat out the Yankees. They clinched on a Saturday. The Mets were eliminated. I think the Mets were in a rain delay when the Cardinals clinched the National League East, and the Kansas City Royals caught and passed the California Angels the final week of the 1985 season. The only division which really wasn't in doubt was the National League West. Cincinnati Reds did only finish 5 games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, but they were never really that close. That really wasn't much of a pennant race in the NL West in 1985. And then you had the two great LCSs. You had Kansas City coming back to beat Toronto after falling down 3-1. And you had the Cardinals come back from 2-0 down to beat the Dodgers four straight. Can't forget about the home run that Jack Clark hit in Dodger Stadium to win the pennant for the 1985 Cardinals. And then you had a great World Series. Kansas City Royals again come back from a 3-1 series deficit to win the World Series. Unfortunately, Game 7 really wasn't much of a game. The Royals ran away with that game. But still, you had two great LCSs and you had a great World Series in 1985. So to me, 1985 was the best season overall that Major League Baseball had in the decade of the 1980s. I think 1986 was a much better postseason than 1985. But remember, 1986, you had no pennant races whatsoever in 1986. 1985 was a great year with three of the four divisions going down to the final weekend. And the Kansas City Royals, well, all the dues that they paid in the 1970s, losing the three straight LCSs to the New York Yankees, losing the 1980 World Series to the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, all of that was paid back in dividends in 1985 with a great run in winning their first world championship. Very deserved. And as a baseball fan, you had to be very happy for not only guys like George Brett, but Willie Wilson, Hal McRae, and all the other guys who were around for the 1970s and that 1980 World Series loss. So very deserving for the 1985 Kansas City Royals, the world champions for 1985. And I can't wait to take a deeper look into all of the Strat-O-Matic cards for 1985. Well, that's what I have for you for today. That's my first look at the 1985 Strat cards. Once again, I thank you all for watching. It is greatly appreciated, and I'll talk to you all down the road.